It's so, oh my God. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe I should talk to a dietitian about this, but it indicates that I'm ready. Like, if I have some good burps before a race, yeah. I'm set. Yeah.
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Pioro, and with me is Matt Hansen. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me once again.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, Mr. Hansen. And joining us again, second episode in a row, is Jake Williams. Jake, how's it going?
Wow, 2 in a row. I can't imagine anyone else I'd rather be sitting between but you two fellas. It's going great, and thanks for having me.
You're not coming again, by the way. This is 2's enough.
Oh, shoot.
Really? He's worn out his welcome with you already, Matt?
Are people that sick of cyclocross?
I mean, it's just, I don't like routine. I like to mix it up.
I'll wear a fake mustache next time.
Jake, as everyone remembers, is a feature writer for Canadian Cycling Magazine and Cyclocross Nut. He was on assignment for us in Lévis, Quebec for Cyclocross Nationals. Jake did some great interviews that we're going to hear in this episode with our newly minted champions. And in just a second, he will set the scene for us at Cyclocross Nationals. All right, Jake, you had a long trip from Toronto, the Big Smoke, to Lévis, which is just across the water, just across the Saint Laurent from Quebec City.
It sure is, yeah. We packed up the old Trek van and we made the 9-hour voyage from Toronto to Lévis. This was the first year that Lévis is hosting the Cyclocross National Championships, taking over from Victoria the past couple of years. It was a fantastic day. Weather was really all over the place. And by day, I mean weekend, sorry. We had the relay event on the Friday afternoon and going into the Saturday championships and a C2 UCI race on the Sunday.
Yeah, that C2 is actually, it ran last year for sure. And I feel like there's some people with a home court advantage there because there's a few champions who won at the Lévis C2 last year. Anyway, you and your squad, the Lanterne Rouge, did the relay. How did you find that event? It's a first, I believe, for nationals.
First time at the national championships, you're right. And this is an event that's been going on now for the past few years at the UCI World Championships. And speaking of the UCI World Championships, we did have someone racing for us on our team who had some experience there, Mr. Michael Vandenham. You may have heard of him from previous races, like winning several national championships. He was a hired gun, admittedly. We did have to donate to the Christmas Cross Project for Canadian cycling, but he did agree to take the first lap. And to be honest, we might have to follow up with him whether he got the whole shot or not, but he did drop his chain coming into the pits where the trade-off was. We did end up finishing, I think, lucky number 13 out of 17 teams. A fantastic event. I really want this event to come back. I think it creates a really fun atmosphere, low stakes, and just go out and give it your hardest lap. It was a really good time.
And was it done exactly like I've watched it at the UCI level? Same deal. You got the fence and you sit there and then you tag off or whatever?
Basically, yes. Typically, I think at the UCI races, the tag off happens just after the start finish, whereas this time it was in the pits, which was about a minute from the finish. But yeah, just a simple kind of slap of the hand and blast off. Now, again, it creates a lot of frenetic energy in the pits because you have people setting up, you have people sprinting out of the pits into other racers. So I saw one big pileup crash coming out of the pit, which was pretty exciting. Otherwise, I think everyone kept it pretty mellow. Yeah, and it was just a good opportunity to kind of get your bearings of the course and get up to race speed. I mean, my speed is maybe not some others' race speed, but it was a good time.
But it's also a good opener the day before the races and all that stuff. And it's only one lap, so it's not going to wear you out.
100%. That's it.
I just want to mention that donation you guys gave is to the Christmas Cross Project. It's an initiative by our national federation to help young riders go overseas, go to Europe to race cyclocross. I believe the cutoff, I can't remember now. It's either under 23 or junior. It's definitely not for elites. And it's been going on for quite a few years now, and it's a great way for the younger riders to get experience abroad.
Yeah, and we did offer up another extra $50 if Michael put down the fastest lap, and we're still waiting to see if we're obligated to pay that, because we're not 100% sure if he did in fact do that.
Jake, let's return a bit more to the weather. You said it was all over the place. I think it was sunny during the relay, and then did it turn overnight?
Yeah, so going into the weekend, we had a few days of below zero temperatures, which would indicate that you get a frozen course. Now, in the mornings anyways. Now, through Friday night, Saturday night, it was actually above zero overnight. And we did have a bit of weather during the day on Saturday, but overall not a huge factor. Conditions did deteriorate and things got a little slicker, where parts of the course where you could ride previously, like during the relay, were not rideable Saturday and Sunday, which was really fun. But it did stay above zero, and it was a great time.
All right, let's get to our first winner, first national champion. His name is Emilien Belzile. He says it in your interview, Jake, but he says it's so fast, it almost just flies right by, probably like he was flying around the course. Now, this rider was third at the Pan American Championships recently. He has a bunch of podiums in U.S. races this past season of cyclocross. Also, he was the Quebec Federation Athlete of the Month in June. That was for mountain biking. He talks a bit more about the course and the conditions. They match very much what you said there, Jake. And we're going to hear about his in-race battles in the interview that you did, Jake. So let's take a listen to Emilien Belzile.
All right. Jake Williams here with Canadian Cycling Magazine, and we're here with the winner of the junior race at Cyclocross Nationals, which is
Emilien Belzile.
Very nice, Emilien. How was it out there? The conditions looked like they were deteriorating. How was the race from the beginning compared to, say, maybe the end in terms of the course?
I think the course was the same all race long, but the little difference where at the end I was always like, I think I did the error was I would crash in the steep descent, and after when I would get off my bike to climb up, it was so slippery and like off camber that I would always slip, and it was like greasy and muddy. So at the end, it was really, I think it was a race with the person that did the less errors would win. And
nice. It looks like you guys were in a group of 3 for most of the race, and then by the end, it was a sprint.
Yeah.
What was the deciding factor that brought you two to the line? Was there something specifically that happened in that last lap?
At the beginning, there was Nicolas Gauthier that had a gap. Then we catched him up, and Evan was maybe like 10 bikes behind me, but I could keep that gap. And at the end, I don't know, I just, when the steep part that I would always crash in, Evan just cut me up there, and I knew that from there it would be a sprint finish, and I think I had the most legs at the end to get the win.
Nice. It's a pretty long uphill drag. Did you feel good in the sprint, or was it? How did it feel midway? I
lost my gel in the race, so I couldn't take a gel halfway. So at the end, I was feeling a bit like I had less energy. But at the sprint, I just half of the climb I would stay behind him, and at like 50 meters before the end, I just sprint into the line, and yeah.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you're having a great season right now.
Yeah.
What's next for you now?
I think I'm going to, I want to go to Worlds and Christmas Cross to get more experience and race in Belgium, because it's not the same type of race as here. So I'm excited for that, yeah.
Nice, okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And that was the junior men's national champion, Emilien Belzile, in Lévis, Quebec, as interviewed by Jake Williams. Jake, what can you tell me about that race? Actually, he was in the junior men's race. Now, was that run concurrently with the under 23 men's race?
So yeah, that's a great question. It was actually a bit of a tricky situation keeping track of all the races going on. There was no live timing at the event, which was curious. So we were kind of running around figuring out who was where and what was when, because the junior men's race went off a minute before the under 23 men's race. So you were getting some mingling of the racers. The leaders were out front mostly, but it was a bit challenging for sure to follow things along.
This next interview, we're actually going to hear someone else in the background, Mika Comaniuk. He was your partner in crime at Cross Nationals, and listeners will recognize that name. He shoots wonderful photographs for us at various races in Canada and occasionally abroad. Yeah, you're going to hear his voice in the background, so that's what's going on here. And this next interview is with our under-23 men's champion. I'm not going to tell you his name just yet. It was his first nationals as an under-23, and his ride was a bit lonely, and we're going to hear why that was a good thing.
Okay, we're here with the U23 National Cyclocross champion.
Yeah.
Your name?
Mika. Comaniuk, yeah.
Last name, sorry.
Comaniuk.
Mika Comaniuk. We were watching the race. All of a sudden, you were all by yourself. How did it feel? How did the beginning of the race feel? And, how did you feel going into it and all that?
Well, I felt kind of nervous going into it, honestly, because it's my first nationals as U23. I couldn't go last year. Had a bit of a slow start, but kind of kept it going, and it was super slidey, muddy, and just keeping the calm and keeping the pedals clean. And I kind of gave a little dig, and all of a sudden I was alone and tried to time trial my way home.
How early were you all alone? On the first lap?
I think second lap, like middle of second lap. It was really best timing ever. The other guy was kind of having problems with the clips, and I kind of just gave a dig, and when there's a gap, it kind of plays on the mental, and it was fun to ride alone.
Nice. What was your favorite part of the course out there?
I'd say there was like some berms with right there with a lot of mud. It was really technical, and it was super slidey, a lot of fun, and just the fast sections of the course were amazing.
What was going through your mind, say on the last lap, when you're still by yourself, and just what was going on in the head?
Well, it's kind of special to win my first national title, so it was good just taking it in, just the atmosphere. There was a lot of people cheering, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it looks like you had enough time to put the hands up and celebrate, so congratulations. What's next for you after this now?
Getting ready for more mountain bike. I can't go to Europe this year on the cross, but next year for sure. But getting ready for some mountain bike and enjoying a bit of off season for now.
Nice. Okay. Congratulations. Great work.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Good work. High five, man. Good work.
And that was the under-23 men's national cyclocross champion, Mika Comaniuk. So he is coming on to his off-season next and getting ready for mountain biking, which is his main jam. As I mentioned earlier, some riders, it seems, might have had a slight advantage having raced this having raced in Lévis in 2023, and he won the C2 race in 2023. I forgot to mention the podium. So Mika Comaniuk is the winner of the under-23 men's race, and in second was Alexander Woodford. Third was Maxime Saint-Onge. And going back to the junior men's race, of course, the winner was Emilien Belzile, and second was Evan Moore. Third, Nicolas Gauthier.
Evan Moore, son of Amy Moore, former professional cyclist.
Oh, there we go. Matt Hansen on the family trees.
You know, they're all coming out with their kids, and they're all winning. We'll get to another one shortly.
The genes, eh? The genes, they help a bit, I imagine. We're going to switch now to the under-23 women's race. The winner there is the 2023 Junior National Cross Country Champion, and she was second at the Cross Country World Championships in the junior category, just behind her then teammate, Isabella Holmgren. That was also in 2023. It is none other than Maren Lowe. This year, she's had successes in Canada Cups, and she took on some World Cups in the under-23 category. Now, I'm not going to give this away, but we'll hear in Jake's interview next. She has an interesting indicator that lets her know when she is ready to race.
So, oh my God. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe I should talk to a dietitian about this, but it indicates that I'm ready. Like, if I have some good burps before a race, I'm set. Yeah.
Amazing.
You get that, yeah.
I got that, and we're here with our under-23 national cyclocross champion, Maren Lowe, who seemed to have a pretty good time out there. How was the race overall?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I love these conditions. I love the slip and slide factor. I'm from BC and we get a lot of rain, so I was in my element. Yeah.
Nice. What was the hardest part of the race, or what was the most fun part of the race?
The most fun, I really like that muddy section over there before the pits. And then I think the hardest sections were definitely those 2 run-ups, or there's more run-ups now today because of the conditions, but yeah, the run-ups were definitely using different muscles. I was like, oh, felt that after I got back on the bike.
Yeah, it's seemingly, obviously, that decision to get off the bike and run versus try to ride. Talk me through some of that. Do you have a sense of where you're going to get off, or is it just based on how your traction is going?
I mean, based on yesterday's pre-ride, it was a bit different since the rain this morning, so it was kind of in the moment decisions for this morning, this race. And there was a few times where I was like, "Ooh, was that the best choice getting off?" Or, yeah, so it was a little hard to decide out there, but yeah, it ended up going pretty well. So
yeah, for sure, very good. And what's next for you?
I'll do one more local race back home in Victoria, BC, and then I'll go into my off season. I'm studying at UVic right now, so I'm pretty swamped with school actually. So yeah, I should probably get back to my studies.
Right on. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
No problem.
And that was Marin Lowe, the under-23 women's national cyclocross champion. And she's ready to race when she lets out a big belch. Jake, did you hear any of this belching?
Yeah, you know what? I have to say that the biggest regret of the weekend was not hitting record 10 seconds earlier, because as she crossed the line, as she was putting on a jacket, she just let out one of the most impressive belches I've heard in a long time, and kind of looked around like, did anyone hear that? Like, did that just happen?
That is so funny. I mean, maybe she's happy we don't have that on record. Maybe just joking about it is one thing, but having the belches, I love that.
Like you said, in terms of her focus on mountain bikes, it is such a focus that she actually just, rolled around 1CX Nationals on Tyler Clark's dad's bike, believe it or not. So that Cervelo that she was on was borrowed, and it sounds like she's, focusing on mountain bikes for now.
That's funny. So she didn't even bring a bike from Victoria?
I guess it's maybe just too expensive to ship one all the way over. And if the Clark family is ready to donate a bicycle, then good to go.
Yeah. It seems she's almost playing hooky from her studies at the University of Victoria. She just zipped out across the country. She is studying geography, and I guess she got to appreciate the geography of Lévis and the mud right there.
Sounded like it really suited her. Yeah, for sure.
The full podium for the women's under-23 race is first, Marin Lowe, second, Mia de Martin, and third, Katja Verkerk. On to the women's junior race. The winner will be of no surprise to listeners, cyclocross fans. This racer was supremely dominant last year. I almost feel she's done a few fewer races in the U.S. this year, but she's still very, very strong, as I imagine she showed at the race on the weekend. I will reveal who the winner is for people who don't know. That's Raphael Carrier. Jake, what do you remember from the junior women's race and how that went?
Well, as you put it before, it was really Raf's race to lose. The one thing that stood out, no slight on Marin, but if that race was another lap, Raf would have won the U23 as well, given that they went out front. I think she finished maybe 30 seconds after Marin did. So obviously a very dominant performance. She's very composed, and she did mention conditions being like Europe, and it's good practice. So yeah, she just went out and really put on a clinic for us.
It's interesting how a lot of the riders, like the mud, like after the interviews, like often you hear some people saying, "Oh, I really like it when it's dry and it's fast," but no, the majority of them all seem to like the mud, the tough slog.
For sure. And I mean, that new Bianchi Zolder CX bike is looking pretty good too. I mean, given that she is getting some support logistically and materially from the Arkea B&B Hotels team going into cross season, and I think a stagiaire for next season as well. So
I think in August of 2025.
That is exciting. And you will be able to see, listeners, a bike check of Raphael Carrier's Bianchi on the website. Should be there right now. But without further ado, let's hear Jake's interview with Raphael Carrier.
All right, so we're here with our junior national cyclocross champion, Raphael Carrière. How was that race out there today?
Yeah, it was super fun, but really tough with the mud. It was, pretty fun race.
Nice. Are you used to these conditions? Do you like these conditions?
Yeah, I really like these conditions. It's always like that in Europe, so we have to get used to it, and that's the perfect practice.
For sure. What was the trickiest part of your race out there today? Did you have any really tough, challenging bits, or was it smooth sailing?
I had a challenge. The run-up right there was super tough with the off-camber. Yeah, was the hardest part for sure.
Nice. Did you get off early and try to run to the end, or were you able to ride it right until the run-up?
Yeah, I was riding it till the turn and then running up the climb, yeah.
Nice. Amazing. What's next for you now after to get the national title here?
Yeah, I'm leaving for Europe in a week for the first Cyclocross World Cup in Ireland. And then I'm going to stay in Europe for 2 months. Yeah.
Nice. Have you ever been to Ireland before?
No, I've never been there.
Anything you're looking forward to in Ireland specifically?
I think we're going to visit with my dad after, ride a bit there to, see some places.
Beautiful. Okay, well, congratulations and thanks so much.
Thank you.
And that was junior champion Raphael Carrière. This is her second junior title for cyclocross. It was a long season for the mountain biker who this past season raced for Pivot OTE. And also, we should remind everyone, she was second in the junior category at Cross Country World Championships.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Totally impressive. Jake, I'm thinking, just based on the winners we're seeing, that this course definitely seemed to favor the mountain bikers. At least mountain bikers dominated the top spots of podiums. Did it seem particularly technical, mountain bikey to you?
I would say as a very mediocre cyclocross racer, I would say it was a very balanced course. We had a fair amount of straightaway flat where the punchy riders, the quote-unquote roadies, would take advantage. However, there was a fair amount of stuff that, if you're racing on a local scene, at least in Ontario or around Canada, you might not get as, say, steep of a run-up as we saw, for example, where if your weight is too far back, you might feel like you're falling backwards. So little things like that definitely played into it. The technical sections were quite technical. Ruts were developing. And there were a few riders out there who were definitely comparing it to European racing, which is always fun because as we race here in North America, it has a bit of a different feel, typically drier and dustier. So it was a good, refreshing race conditions for sure.
Refreshing, invigorating racing.
Yes, I felt so invigorated.
You guys already mentioned that Carrière is going to Arkea B&B hotels. Well, I should clarify, she has support throughout cyclocross season from that French team, and she will be joining it as a stagiaire in August. What's up with road teams scooping up mountain bikers / cyclocrossers? We see the Holmgrens.
And what does that mean? Providing material, does that mean materials like kit? Does that mean materials like bike? Very interesting.
I think maybe given the fact that some of the best riders in the world right now, and both women and men, are also great cyclocrossers, all these road teamers thinking, like Marianne Vos, Vanderpool, Wout, all these riders, maybe they're putting something together and thinking ahead.
I think so. And yeah, we have the Holmgrens, and I guess the grave concern I had when the Holmgrens were picked up by Lidl Trek were, what does this mean for their season? Will the team say, no mountain bike for you. You are racing the road. But it seems
there's more stories to write too.
Yes. That was your worry, that you would have more work.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought.
That reoccurring nightmare of yours of having to produce stories.
It's tough. Listen, Matt, I feel for you. Yeah. I do feel for you.
It is tough.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks, buddy. You can come back.
Amazing.
Okay. The hardest working cycling journalists in Canada right here. But back to the Holmgrens. They didn't seem constrained in their calendar. They seemed to have a lot of leeway, and which was great for fans to watch them.
But I think Bella, it was only her third race, right? So it's not like I think she's probably taking a page from the pro men, like the ones we just mentioned, Vanderpool and them. They realize it's a long year if you do all these different sports, and maybe I don't need to do a full cyclocross calendar to be in top form. I just pick those races.
Yes, being more judicious as to where your putting your efforts in whatever discipline you are racing. Let me just give everyone the podium for the junior women's race. Raphael Carrier at the top, then Nico Knoll in second, and Aislinn, I'm really got to apologize to this rider. Aislinn Hallahan, whose name I see a lot. She was racing quite well in the U.S. at whack of podiums, so it's good to see her on the podium at Nationals.
You'll get an email from her family for sure.
Yeah, no, it's already being sent. I can feel it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm happy to be corrected on the pronunciation because I'm sure we'll be saying that name again in the future. Next up, again, it is a no surprise for the next winner that we're about to talk about. I think the surprise for me was whether this racer was going to be an under 23 or elite. And that is none other, we've already mentioned her, Isabella Holmgren. Let's hear Jake's interview with Isabella Holmgren.
All right, so we're here with the newly minted Canadian cyclocross champion elite in her first year as under 23, technically, right? Isabella Holmgren.
Second year under 23 for cross, but yeah.
Fair enough, second year under 23 for cross. How was the race?
It was so much fun. Like, I don't think I've had that much fun in a long time. I just loved every minute of it.
Amazing. So you and Magali were riding together for a while, and then all of a sudden I looked up and there was quite a gap. What happened? Was that a purpose move? And walk me through that.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to focus on my own race because it's so slippery and so many little mistakes can happen. So I was just really focusing on myself and riding smooth and clean. And then I made sure to power on the straightaways where I knew I could put some power down. So yeah, I didn't really plan an attack or anything, but I just rode as hard as I could.
Nice. Conditions-wise, clearly you had a good time out there. Is this kind of your what you'd prefer to race in?
I think I really enjoy the mud. Yeah, I think there's also a lot of running with the mud, and I love to run. So sometimes if I know that a climb's super tough to ride, I'll just get off and run my bike. And I think maybe sometimes that's a bit of an advantage. So
totally, it seems to be very decisive running and that sort of thing. Amazing. So, been a light cross schedule for you so far this year. What's next on tap for you?
Yeah, I think I'll probably do a few races around Christmas time for cross and then see how the training goes for the next mountain bike and road season, and then maybe I'll do Worlds and some other World Cups.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that was the Elite Women's National Cyclocross Champion, Isabella Holmgren. Listing her palmares is a lot, but in 2024, she was the XCO and XCC under 23 world champion. Of course, she's been junior world champion in cross country and also in cyclocross, and those distinctions came in 2023. But she likes to run, she says. What did you see? Or tell us what the race looked like from the side of the course, Jake, the Elite Women's race.
Yeah, well, clearly Isabella had a lot of fun in the mud. You know, her Strava title for the race is just Mud Smiling Happy Face. So if that's any indication, she was just out there, having a good time, waiting to make her move. A few laps into the race, she took over at the front of the race, and that was pretty much it. Watching her run was very impressive, definitely.
I noticed that she had on Sunday, they must have been pretty confident in her abilities, because I saw that her team had already made a national championship jersey, which is kind of amazing. It's like writing an obituary for someone before they die.
Wow. And on that note, it's funny because on that same race day, Sydney McGill was wearing the Pan Am champion jersey, who, a couple weeks ago she had won that jersey, and apparently that was actually Ian Ackert's jersey that she borrowed to wear. So yeah, sometimes these jerseys come through quick. Sometimes you're like, yeah.
On the topic of the course and how the race went, I took a look at Magali Rochette's her newsletter. The podium: Isabella Holmgren first, Magali Rochette second, Sydney McGill third. And Magali was saying that the course was muddy, and she found she couldn't really stand up to make a quick acceleration, which is one of her strengths. So she found it almost impossible. Once Isabella Holmgren got in front, it was very tough for Magali. Well, she couldn't get around. And then with 2 laps to go, according to Rochette, is when Isabella attacked in an off-camber climb. So sounds like a pretty cool race.
There you go. And Magali did mention on her podcast that she says it was the best race in North America this year, which is obviously because she did miss Christy Cross, but that's a whole different story.
I was wondering how far we'd get into the podcast before you mentioned the Toronto Cyclocross.
See you next year, Magali. Magali, big invitation for next year's race. Please come. Anyways, yes, clearly all the racers loved it. That's the story there.
I love your restraint, Jake, that we got this deep into the podcast before you mentioned the race that you helped to organize.
Thank you. I'm trying to practice restraint here. It's a big deal going into 2025.
It was cool to see Magali back in the mix in Canada, though. And also, maybe it's a changing, obviously, it's a little bit of a changing of the guard. And I don't think she has a problem with that to see Isabella, because we know that she's already done a lot. And I'm certain that she's going to go on to some even greater things, and it was cool to see them duke it out.
I want to get into these ideas of changing of the guard maybe after our final interview. Magali, I believe, I don't want to misquote her, but I might. But also in her newsletter, she said she didn't lose, she was beaten, but she was very happy about the race and the way she raced. And I would also say dominant force in Canadian cyclocross over the past 10 years. And just because of that, we may see her on the top step again in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And just to note, Mia, her dog, came over to visit our tent, and she did mention, and this was after the elite race, that of course she's a competitive racer. She wanted to win, but she left it all out there, to use a very overused.
The dog did?
No, the dog came over and brought her owner with her.
Oh, I thought the dog was talking about her race, and I was like, this is getting interesting.
The dog probably left something out there, but in a different color. But no, Magali was happy to have.
That was scooped up, I'm sure.
I hope so. There was a lot of stuff on the course.
You wouldn't, from all the mud, you probably couldn't tell.
I don't think anyone got pink eye, but I'll send out a note.
Oh, wow. Oh, we're so highbrow. This is amazing. I think that wraps up the elite women's race. And now on to the final race of the Nationals, Cyclocross National Championships. There was, of course, a C2 race the next day, which dovetails with this interview. Jake, you spoke with the winner of the elite men's race. It is Ian Ackert. And in this interview, we have a clip from post-Nationals race and then post-C2 race on the Sunday where you caught up with him. But I understand there was a bit of controversy. Maybe we'll get into that after the interview, but just to sort of set the scene, listeners, in case you don't know, there's CCN, which is a ubiquitous registration site for all of these events that riders use. Riders of all types, elites, masters, use to sign up for events. So Ian Ackert mentions that in his interview with Jake. And so I'll just set that context for you, and let's hear that interview.
You see that rainbow up there? Is that inspiring?
Oh my God.
You think that's like an omen?
Oh my God.
You don't have to look at me.
I hope Nick got that in the picture at the finish.
Yeah. We're here with newly minted elite cyclocross national champion, Ian Ackert. Ian, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well right now. I'm pretty happy.
I bet. Let's go through that race. What was it like at the start line, and how was the first few laps?
First few laps were good. I took the whole shot. Everyone, I think I had a marker on my back wearing number 1 and being the youngest one on the start line. Sorry, I'm answering your question backwards, but no, it was, the first few laps were good, kind of racing together. Then I just decided to not look back and kind of just rode the lines I knew I could and went hard everywhere else, so.
Amazing. We want to address the controversy, potential controversy of you being registered for the under-23 race, which you're eligible for, and showing up in the elite. Was that a strategic decision, or was that just the plan all along?
We'll have to talk to CCN about that. There's an automatic prompt when you register that says, here's your category, and the elite category was not in there for me because I'm under 23. So I had to switch that day of, but I know I caused a little bit of drama there, I guess.
We also have a train horn on course, which is fantastic. So just to confirm, that was not to get in Gunner's head, is that correct?
No, Gunner was the first one I told. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. No. Amazing. Obviously, a challenging course. Probably some of the first mud that you've seen all year, no? Or
definitely first mud race we've had, and yeah, it was definitely a thick, challenging course. There's a lot of sections that were just kind of like a lot of power involved. I thought I could ride some other sections, but then it just ended up being faster to run them. So, yeah, it was a hard course.
Fair enough. Looking ahead, what's next for you on your calendar this year?
I'll do a Christmas cross, mainly focusing on the World Cups and a few races that I like doing. And then off to Spain for a little January camp and hitting Worlds pretty hard. So, yeah.
Amazing. And last question, what's on tap for tonight? What's the celebration look like?
I mean, we got to keep the tradition going. We've had a tradition for the last 4 years of if you win a race, we pop a bottle of champagne. So I think with Bella involved, maybe we'll do ×2 because it was in Elite. Yeah, a couple bottles of champagne. Wine never hurt either.
Nice, keeping it classy. Well, and I guess you are racing tomorrow, are you not? Or?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fair enough. A little champagne wouldn't hurt, right?
No, never.
All right, thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Wow. Here with Ian Ackert, the newly minted Elite National Cyclocross champion, winning the C2 today. First of all, I want to ask you, has it sunk in yet? How does it feel to be the Elite National champ?
It's pretty special. Yeah, I mean, now I'm the best in Canada according to a jersey, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty special. Yeah.
Nice. Is this the sort of thing you dreamt of when you first started training and riding? And I mean, visualizing kind of big wins?
Oh, yeah. Pre-COVID, we had nationals in Peterborough. I was, I think, like a U17 or something. So I was watching all the elite races and cheering them on. So now being the elite guy and getting cheered on, it's kind of a full circle moment. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Any other pressures that come along with being the elite national champion?
I don't know, maybe today, but I think that's still yet to come. I think once we're in Europe and I've got the jersey on and you're racing with the big boys over there. So, I mean, there's some big boys here too, but yeah, I think it'll come. Yeah.
Nice. Have you recovered from the champagne and a couple of drinks last night?
I didn't know if I had in the warm-up, but I guess so. I don't want to say that I haven't. It was definitely a hard race out there, so maybe.
Nice. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good work, man.
All right, that was Ian Ackert, the Elite Men's Canadian Cyclocross champion. Now, I mentioned controversy at the top. It maybe wasn't that big of a controversy, but maybe, Jake, can you unpack that a bit more for us?
I mean, as controversial as we may get in the very polite Canadian cyclocross scene, but it turns out the old elite button was grayed out for Mr. Ackert. But hey, that's pretty common because the guy's only 19 years old. So given that he stepped up to the elite race was definitely, I mean, some other riders would maybe wait a few years, but clearly Ian's been having a fantastic season on the bike, obviously on the mountain bike and then over on the cross bike. So yeah, go figure. He maybe got into the heads of some of the other racers who figured, oh, he's in the U23 race, means I got a chance. Where, he was able to wheelie over the line, which showed you no sprint needed.
Amazing. He has had a really good season for sure. He was also running lots on that course, that muddy course. So that's pretty interesting to me. And then he celebrated. Of course, he celebrated the Saturday night after becoming champion. He mentioned champagne, and I think I was messaging you, Jake, and I was like, like Canada's own Jacques Anquetil likes the champagne. And then I thought the better of that. I'm like, I don't want to accuse Ian Ackert of consuming as much alcohol as Jacques Anquetil did. So I just want to be clear. I'm sure Ian had a nice few glasses of champagne and was not at Anquetilian levels.
You've now branded him for the rest of his life. Canada's Jacques Anquetil. That's his nickname. And that's a horrible nickname.
Horrible.
And speaking about what Ian's been putting into his body, I was talking to his dad and him as well. About a year ago, he went gluten-free. He was saying the big pre-race, pre-ride pasta meals were really bloating him and maybe causing a few too many burps. So he's traded in his pasta for some rice, and it's been clearly working out.
A lot of burps in this episode. A lot of belching and burps and fecal matter. Just a lot of stuff going on today.
Ian also mentioned in his interview that he remembers watching the elites in Peterborough. Now, this was in in 2018 and 2019, where that city held cyclocross nationals. And, he was watching them perform at their highest. But I should note that in 2019, Ian won under 17 in Peterborough. And in 2018, he won under 15 category. So Buddy's been at the top step of the podium for a while now as he's moved up through the age groups.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we had a couple of years there. COVID year canceled, and then that other year, the year after, where the atmospheric river or the flooding took out national. So, he's had a couple years of, not being able to go for a title. So for him to jump up to the elites this year was pretty exciting.
The full podium for the elite men was Ian Eckert, first. Second, Gunnar Holmgren. Third, Tyler Clark. Now, Tyler Clark was third last year and first 2 years ago. So it's good to see Tyler Clark still in the mix.
Did Tyler Clark use his bike or his dad's bike?
I think he used Marin's bike. Her mountain bike, yeah. Yeah, they just traded. No, I think Tyler's a little taller than Marin. His dad and Marin are probably the same size. She looked natural on it.
Just want to keep track of all these bike swaps and parents and kids, and there's a whole bunch of things going on here.
All right, Jake, your skill testing question, your deep thinking question is, after Cyclocross Nationals and the C2 race, what are your thoughts on the state of Canadian cyclocross in a nutshell?
The state is looking good. I think, realistically what we're seeing, if we haven't already seen it, is a bit of a changing of the guard. The youth movement, we'll call it in cyclocross, is in full force. All of the race winners were under 20 years old. So that's pretty impressive. That is something that I don't think we've seen in a number of years. And Evan Russell winning last year, I think he's 4 or 5 years older than Ian. So, I'm really curious to see how this plays out in the next few years, and especially on the women's side, to see Raphael come up through the elite ranks against Bella. I mean, this is going to be really, really fun time in cyclocross here.
Definitely. It does seem to... I don't know if it's a continuation of the switch that I think we saw coming out of the pandemic when... we saw nationals start up again in 2022, because that's when we saw either a whack of new names or just names that were, in the younger categories, and they're now at the top of the more senior categories. I'm just looking at a bunch of older results. I think the last time Carrier and Isabella Holmgren faced off was in Victoria in 2022. Isabella won, and Raphael Carrier was in second. They've since been switching up categories because of their age differences, or not in the same categories because of their age differences, but we'll see them racing one another soon enough, I believe. And yeah, I think I agree with your assessment. I feel like it was roughly 10 years ago, there was those 2 races in Winnipeg where I think that was a shift, where we saw, that's when, say, we saw Catherine Pendrell and Mike Garrigan winning in 2014, and then the next year it was... Okay, this is not quite holding up, but we saw, actually next year, Michael Dick won. So there was the old guard sort of staying there. But then after that, it was Magali for many years. And then on the men's side, it wasn't the dominance of Michael Vandenham, but Michael Vandenham definitely had 3 years in a row. So there was that switch. And now Michael Vandenham's retired, and we see a different crop of men. And then, of course, on the women's side, the story there is, of course, Isabella Holmgren, but Sydney McGill. We can't really forget Sydney McGill. She's been multiple junior champion, multiple under-23 champion, third on the podium in the elite women's race. So she's still going strong, and I believe only 25.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, now I don't know if this intel is correct or not. I believe I heard from a couple sources she ran some pretty aggressive tires on race day. I think she was racing on some file treads where a lot of the other racers were on, more of your typical all-arounder mud tires. So, I mean, she definitely has the skills. She's raced a ton of World Cup so far in her career, so she knows how to handle a bike. So, don't count her out yet.
Of course not. These are still races to watch with a bunch of exciting racers. All right. Jake, thanks so much for this picture, this snapshot, this look at Cross Nationals, which sounded like a good one.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. And like I said earlier, I'm expecting a big Canadian Cycling Magazine contingent at next year's Relay Champs. It sounds like you guys have long sleeve skin suits and a lot of desire to win. And a look on Mr. Hansen's face says it all.
Yep. Stoked.
Super stoked.
Pioro, you'll be going first. I'll be going last. Then I can make up time.
I mean, hey, I think Pioro could get the whole shot. I have faith.
Yeah, just how long you can keep it for. That's the problem.
Okay. This is not about us. And thank you. And that's the episode. It is written and edited by me, Matthew Pioro. I had help from Matt Hansen, I think. I think you helped a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping this ship afloat.
Yeah, sure. I had loads of help from Jake Williams. Thank you again, Jake, for your interviews and insights.
Thanks for having me. Can't wait for you guys to send me to Dublin next week for the first World Cup.
Yeah, just let us know what dates work, and we'll sort that out with our in-house travel agency.
Sounds great. First class, I assume.
Yeah. Since the Canadian cycling magazine Jet is up on cinder blocks, we'll have to find an alternate route for you to get to Dublin.
I think Taylor Swift's using it right now, right?
Yeah. It's just parked up at Pearson as she's continuing her Toronto stint. This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is produced by Adam Killick, and he does the music too. Thanks also goes to Ontario Creates for its support. Dublin. I guess, yes, our eyes now turn to Europe as stuff is pretty much wrapped up here in North America, so that'll be exciting. A lot of the riders you spoke with do plan to do some stints over there. Maybe not full World Cup campaigns, but definitely some racing in Northern Europe. It'll be exciting to continue watching them.
Can't wait.
Yeah, it might mean more work for you, Matt.
Oh yeah, there's like 38 World Cups this year. They changed the format. It's a mess. It's crazy.
38.
Jesus
I know.
Christ.
Something like that.
And the problem is Canadians go to them and they do well.
Yeah, I know.
You know, why can't they just get 64?
You should really send an email to Cycling Canada. Just stop doing so well. Jeez.
It's just annoying.
All right, the hardest working cycling journalists in Canada are here for you, listeners. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please rate and review the show. Oh, check out our members only section of our website. There's lots of great content that we make Matt produce for that website. Jake is in there. Jake's fine writing is in the members section. So please sign up for that. We'd love to see you there. And everyone, ride safe, and we'll talk to you later.